Blackburn, and welcome to Justine Hovey's 12 Days of Christmas video hop. We're kicking off her big series here, and I've got a fun little project for you using the Give Thanks stamp set by Simon Says Stamp. I love this cute little card. It has a lot of little finishing touches that I love to do on cards, so I thought I'd share those with you today. I've got these great cute little stamps, and I've arranged them on a block. I love these. They kind of remind me of mistletoe. So I'm just going to stamp those in a perimeter around my watercolor paper using Versamark ink, and then we will heat set those in some bright opaque white embossing powder by Wow. And I'm just kind of going in a random pattern here. There's no real right or wrong, just going in sections, and I'll jump ahead just so you don't have to watch me do that all. I like to keep all my embossing powder in the original containers by Wow, just because they have some de-static properties that are unique to Wow embossing powders. So I love this giant jar. It's the best deal ever. You get like 10 jars for the price of 5, which is great. So once we've got that all heat set, we're going to move on to doing some ink blending. Now I have 4 of the reds by Ranger Distress Inks. We're going to start off with our lightest shade, which is Festive Berries, and then we'll move on to Candied Apple, and then some Barn Door, finishing with Fired Brick. Now when you're doing ink blending, and right here I kept this a little bit more normal speed so you can see how fast I go, you want to keep a light pressure. I'm using 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper because I find that that is actually a great paper to do ink blending on. It helps to limit the amount of streaks and funky colors, and it just makes it a little easier to get a real nice blend. So once you have all your colors down, and even though you have your darker colors down, be sure to come back in with your lightest shades because they help to kind of even everything out. And I think you'll find that you'll get a much better result. I really do love ink blending. I have several videos on ink blending, which I'll link to at the end here. And then what I'd like to do also is put kind of a frame around my color that I've created. So I'm going to use Fired Brick, and we're just going to create this interesting frame going really heavy on the corners, kind of drawing your eye in, and that just helps to just give it an interesting look and help to finish your project as well. So there you have a real beautiful red background. Now to complement that, we're going to actually use a green piece as our banner. Before we get to that, you want to make sure to wipe off your embossing. So what you have is just a very clean paper towel, very lightly spritzed, once, maybe twice, not much more. And you're just going to gently rub over the embossed pieces to remove any stray ink that's left behind. So here I have some other stamps from this really cute stamp set, and we're just kind of adding onto a piece of olive cardstock. We're just going to add a little bit of de-static tool. Even though I use Wow embossing powder a lot, I still use a de-static tool. I think it's just a habit. And you don't really need it as much with the Wow powders because they have that in the powders themselves. But I'm using a little bit of Versamark ink to just get a real nice crisp image here using my MISTI. Gotta love the MISTI for stuff like this because you can stamp a couple times, make sure that you have a nice image. And I have that Christmas tree and kind of that really pretty ornate swag around it. And we're going to use some gold metallic sparkle powder. And this is really cool powder. You can kind of already see some of the sparkle there on the camera. I mean, it really looks cool. It really has a really nice effect versus just regular like gilded gold powder that has a really cool metallic look to it, like gold leaf. So you get the combination of it. You have that real fun sparkle as you see there, in addition to a really nice gold embossing powder that's mixed in there. We're going to use the banner underneath. Once I have that positioned, I'm going to ink that up using peeled paint, Distress ink. And I'm not so worried about using Distress ink to stamp here because this is really more in the background. We're going to come over this with the greeting Merry Christmas, or the sentiment Merry Christmas, and we'll emboss that. So once we have that, you want to make sure to dry that completely, and then you'll add your greeting on top using Versamark. And we're going to do the same thing with the gold embossing powder. Everything on this banner is going to have the same embossing sparkle powder, which is a really nice look. I like it. And I like it on the olive cardstock. It's a nice contrast. So just get that heat set. And then I'm actually trimming this down a little bit so that it doesn't have so much extra cardstock beyond the images there. So once that's a little tighter, like that, you can see here, I did that off camera, sorry about that. And then we're gonna create the banner at the bottom. I like to just come up with some snips up as far as I want, and then just very easily from corner to that peak there. And that helps to create your banner. So there are some great prizes in this giveaway, which I'll link to at the end. But I want to know what your favorite Christmas cookie is. So be sure to tell me in the comments, and remember that. We're just going to rub our Versamark pad around the edge, dip it back into some of the sparkle powder, and we're going to create a frame, of an embossed frame completely around it, and that's going to just help really to make this pop. So here you can see we have our really cool distressed background that we inked up. And we have this really cool banner. Now you could leave it in the middle there, but I always think that it's very interesting. It just has a nicer design aspect if you just kind of slightly offset things like that. So that's how we're gonna finish this off. Glue everything down, and then it really kind of still needed a little something. So I decided to add, of course, my favorite, sequins. I never used sequins until a couple years ago, and now I just can't stop. You can see here I have a couple different, I have some gold there, and it really wasn't working for me, so I went with the my go-to, which is the Pretty Pink Posh sparkling clear sequins. Love these, and you have to use the multimedia matte by Ranger to adhere those down because it dries super crystal clear, and when you have these really beautiful sparkly clear sequins, the last thing you want is glue that kind of dries yellow. So that's my definite adhesive of choice. And there you have it. Isn't that a great little project? Here's some close-ups, and don't forget to leave comments along the way on everybody's video here at the Hop, because we have some awesome prizes. I will list them here at the end, but you have to make sure to answer everybody's questions, so make sure you're watching all the videos. And here are the prizes. We've got some great prizes by Simon Says Stamp, My Sweet Petunia, and of course, handmade cards by Justine. Yes, I'm in. All right, thanks so much for joining me here. I'm linking to a couple other videos in case you're interested in learning a little bit more about ink blending, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. Next up on the Hop is Josephine, so be sure to check out what she's created for you next. Bye-bye.